Hey guys, Christine here with Portable Entrepreneur. Today I'm going to be sharing with you 13 red flags that really nice clients give us to let us know ahead of time that they're going to be a major pain in the you-know-what if you choose to work with them. And they're so kind to give us these clues up front so that we can avoid the stress and the low pay and these dragged out projects that we don't want to work on, and we can know it up front and can say no to it. So today I'm going to be sharing with you 13 of those red flags so you'll know them when you see them. And I'm also going to share with you 5 things that you can say to get out of it, to say no, you're not going to take on the project in a way that's very nice, it's professional, and it just gets them to move right along and they have no bad feelings about it at all. So let's go ahead and jump into these 13 red flags. So the first red flag is right off the bat, they ask for a lower price. They want to negotiate on your prices. Now, your price is not negotiable. You came up with that price specifically, and you are only looking for the clients who want that type of price. So if they try to negotiate on your price at all, then that is definitely a red flag. Now, if there is a client who wants to micromanage your work, you are in for some trouble if you take this. Now, I've had a client who I remember who wanted to do this so bad, but she was so nice up front in sending me pages and pages and pages of handwritten notes that she scanned in and sent to me on all the things that she wanted me to do. Basically, having clearly done Google research to determine how to do my job, and then wrote it up so nicely for me to make sure that I had a list of how to do my job. So some clients really show up front that they really want to micromanage every step that you take. Now, we talked about this in another video when we looked at client baggage, and there are some clients who genuinely have had a horrible experience, so that tends to show up as micromanaged. And then there's some clients who just feel the need to control everything regardless of any past experience, and those are 2 different people. So that may be worth a watch if you aren't clear on the differences there. Now, number 3 is they are not interested in following your process. So if you very clearly lay out how you work and what they can expect from you, how your process goes in helping them get the results that they want or solving the problem that they came to you with, but they want to alter that, well, that's not how you do business. And so if they are not interested in having you do work the way that you do work, well, then they need to move along. Now, number 4 is they ask the same questions over and over again. So if you are finding a client is really stuck on a particular point or a couple of points, and they continue to ask the same questions, but they're not listening to the answer, well, that is just how they're acting now. And once they have more information and more decisions to make, and they have to give you more feedback, well, that's really going to start weighing you down. So pay attention to those questions, but also use that client baggage video that I referenced to make sure that you understand how to really get to the bottom of why they're asking particular questions, because it could just be from a bad past experience they have, and it could be cleared up. Now, number 5, if a client doesn't take action as instructed, let's say they delay getting you something you've asked for, or they just say, oh, I forgot about that when you follow up with them. Well, that is definitely a red sign that if they are starting to delay things right up front in the very beginning, that they are definitely going to delay things down the road, as they should really be the most excited, the most enthusiastic about their project and getting it done and getting the results that they want up front. Now, number 6 is a client who has no boundaries, and this tends to be a little bit more obvious. So as an extreme example, but unfortunately has happened, if you have a client who will call you after emailing you, after texting you, just to make sure that you got the email and got the voicemail and saw the text, to make sure that you are doing what it is that you're supposed to be doing and possibly micromanaging the work. Well, see, that is definitely something that is a red flag. So part of your process and making sure that they follow your process, it also has to do with communication so that they understand how you're going to communicate and when that communication is going to happen, so both parties are clear. Now, number 7 is when a client is not clear on what they actually want, but they want you to get the job done. and they are very vague in what they want. They're really kind of unsure. And when you ask them questions about going this path or that path, they're really unsure and just want you to make the decision. That is definitely a red flag, because if they don't know and they're not clear, it's really hard to make sure that you're actually delivering what they want. Now, of course, it is your job to be able to ask questions and to be able to provide guidance in order to make sure that you are both clear on what it is that you want. And there are a lot of really good clients who are not perfectly clear on what they want, but they should understand a general direction, understand the results, and be able to communicate that with you, even if you have to ask questions to pull some of those details out. Now, number 8 is if the client is asking for expedited time frames. So they want this huge project done in 2 weeks. I mean, you can do this ASAP, right? I mean, you can just start today. Can we start today? How about tomorrow morning? If they really have a desire to get this done quickly, that's going to put a lot of pressure on you. It's going to put a lot of pressure on them. They're going to feel stressed, which starts to lead to the micromanaging, which starts to lead to the text messages, followed by the calls, followed by the emails. So this will often bring up other red flags simply because the time frame is not right. So even if the client is great, but the time frame is not a match, well, it may be a red flag and you may have to move on. Now, number 9 is one you really need to be careful of. And this is if a client starts to downplay your experience or knowledge. And this can be something you don't necessarily pick up on, but as they start to say things like, this isn't tough, or this shouldn't take long, or that's not hard to do. So this is implying that you can do your job faster, or you might be able to do your job cheaper, or this really isn't a big deal, or really gives us the insight that they don't really understand how involved our job actually is and just expect something done quick, even if they're not going to end up at the end being happy with the result. Now, number 10 is very similar if they are not interested in industry knowledge. And by this, I mean, if they're not actually interested in hearing your insights, your experience, your knowledge, basically everything that you bring to the table in this partnership, then that is a huge red flag. If they are coming to you and paying you, they should want to hear that. And that doesn't always happen, even though you would think that it does. I can think of a particular client who came to me and she had everything done, all of the copy, and she had mocked up an actual website and just so much detail that was there. And from my experience and knowledge, I knew that the way that she had put it together was not going to convert well. It wasn't going to help her maximize her sales. And when trying to present her with some alternatives, showing her her option and a couple of options that I came up with, she was not interested at all in even hearing it. It was going to be her way. She wanted it that way, no discussion. So in that case, well, that's my job. My job is to bring my experience and my knowledge to the table to help make sure that this is as big of a success as possible. And if the client is not going to allow that, well, that's a huge red flag for me. And I don't believe I'm going to be able to help give the client the best result. Now, number 11 is if the client is asking you to start the project before they give you everything that you've requested, everything that you need up front. If they owed you a payment, if they owed you a deposit, if you've given them a list of items that they should have given you up front before a project started, well, then that is definitely a red flag. So if they're saying, oh, just, yeah, I'll get all of that to you by tomorrow. If you could go ahead and just start on this today. No. We got to make sure that everything we have up front, because again, remember, they've got to follow your process. Now, number 12, this is one of my favorite, is when a client comes to you, and this is usually one that goes hand in hand with asking for a lower price, is that they offer you future either recurring revenue because they're going to be sending you recurring work, they're going to send you more projects, they're going to send you referrals from others that they know, and they just tell you how great it's going to be after you do their project. I have never, ever seen that work out. So that is always a red flag. And again, that usually comes with, well, if you do this for this lower price, well, now after that, I'm going to send you more work. I'm going to send you referrals and so on. So your business is going to really do great. You'll have lots of work after we do this for a low price. So that is a big no. And number 13 is just to trust your gut. I don't know why We do not listen to our own gut. We've all heard the phrase, trust your gut. It applies here too. If there is something about the client, there's something about the situation, maybe something they said or did or showed you, and it's just not sitting right with you, and it doesn't necessarily fit into one of these other red flags that I share with you. Well, it's okay to listen to your gut. That is definitely going to tell you if this is the bad client or not. Now, with these 13 red flags, if you get this, it can still be hard, especially if you haven't talked to a lot of clients, to be able to actually say no to them and not feel like, oh, well, now they're going to think badly of me if I don't take this, or this is going to really look bad, or they're going to tell others. So we can absolutely tell them, no, we're not going to be working with them, and do this in a very professional way. So I'm going to share with you 5 things that you can say just simply to help the client move on. So this opens your attention to new, better opportunities. And the first thing is to say, I'm too busy. Simply, I'm too busy to be able to take on this project at this time. And well, a client really can't argue too much with that. Now, the next thing you can say is, I am not the best fit for this project. And a client really does not tend to argue with something like that, because well, they want somebody who is the right fit for this particular project. So after listening to their details, if any of these red flags come up, then you can simply let them know, I just don't think I am the best fit for you. Now, the third thing that you can do is actually overprice the work. And this is a little bit risky because a client could surprise you and take it. Most of these clients who are going to be throwing up all these red flags aren't going to go for it, but it has happened. So you do have to be careful. So if you would charge a client $5,000 for a project or $10,000 for a project, well, maybe now your price is going to be $15,000 because you know that this is going to take you longer. You're going to have more to deal with. But again, the client could always take it. So you better make sure if you throw out that price, you're really willing to do the work. Otherwise, you want to use one of these other strategies here for saying no. Now, the fourth thing that you can do is to give the client your starting price up front. So if you start to hear some of these red flags like, oh, we need a lower price, or they let you know that their budget is lower, you can always say, well, our projects always start at a minimum of, and then make that a higher price. So that really tends to get the client out the door very, very quickly, especially if there's anything related to budget or price, and that is a huge concern for them, and they are trying to negotiate you down. Now, the fifth thing you can say is, I'm sorry, I can't help you with this project. And that is something that is just very generic. It's very straightforward, but it absolutely gets your point across. So if you're looking for something just a little bit more generic to say, really kind of ends the conversation at that point, that is a great one to use, and that will get the client moving right along. So do make sure that every opportunity that comes into your business is actually that, an opportunity for your business, and is going to put your business in a better place. So definitely make sure that you use these red flags to stay away from any of those clients you don't want to work with that are not going to pay you what you are worth. They're just going to suck all of your energy away and drag out all of these projects. I would love to hear in the comments below if there's any red flags that I have missed that you have seen, or any that you have experienced as well. All right, thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you next time.